Welcome back, AEIS artists. We're going to move on to the next stage of our Jasper Johns inspired number piece. So this is a finished product. And if you'll notice, the background has got one found object and my number has a different found object. And there's another one up on the board which looks a little bit even more dramatic because I used up on the board, I'm looking at it, is the number 3, and the colors are different. So in this one, I chose two black on both of the papers, whereas the other one, I chose two different colors, and I think it stands out a little bit better. But this is what we're going for. So today, you should have 2 sheets of background paper. And if you don't, you're going to work on your second one. So we'll want to make sure that everybody has 2. You also right now have a printer paper, and this is our rough draft paper. So on this, today what we're going to do is think about a number, and everybody has a number sheet attached to their cubicle, okay? So it's got 0 through 9, and you're going to choose one number, okay? So we're going to follow the steps. So you should have a ruler. If you have your own ruler, use your own ruler. Otherwise, I put rulers on tables, which will spray down. So anything that needs to get sprayed down is going to go into our styrofoam tray. And I'm just going to easily spray it down and let it sit. So using your ruler and working on your draft paper, you're also going to need a pencil. So you need a pencil, your sheet of paper, and a ruler. Yours or mine. And what we're going to do first, so I'm going to tilt my camera down so you can see my workspace, and hopefully you can hear me because my microphone kind of stopped working. So what you're going to do first is at the top of the paper, you're going to make a line. And we want to make sure that our number is quite large. So I think what I'm going to try and do is put my ruler up to the edge of the paper so it lines up with the edge. And I'm going to draw a line. And then do the same thing on the bottom. So this is how big our number is going to be. So I have a line at the top of the page and at the bottom. Now you're going to pick your favorite number or a number, whichever number that you want. And I did 3 and I've already done 4. So I think I will do, let me do maybe 6. So pick a number. The first thing you're going to do is just lightly start at the top of the line and create that number. Make sure you touch the bottom line. So I made my number 6. Okay. Now we're going to make it into a block number. So using what you have, you're just going to then outline it. And I'm going to go really dark with my pencil. You might want to go light. I'm going to go down and around, and I'm going to go below my number so I don't cut off my number 6, and all the way up, and then a hole in the middle. So I used my pencil line as my guide, and then I drew on the outside and created space. I could even have created more space up here. So I kind of outlined my number 6, and then I have a hole in the center, so I did my hole. So this is my number 6. The next step that we're going to do is cut it out. So you're going to need scissors. Totally forgot about that. So again, I'll make sure everyone has scissors and rulers, and you're going to cut out your draft. So using your scissors, you're going to cut out your number. And this is what we're creating is a stencil. A lot of artists use stencils in their artwork. And so we are as well. So my number 6. Now I have to cut out that little hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it in half. So if you have one where you have an inside that you need to cut out. So the 0, the 6, the 8, the 4, and even the 9, you'll have to problem solve how to cut it out. There we go, so I cut out my middle. Now you're going to decide on which one of your backgrounds you want to be your number and which one you want to be the background. So pick one, okay? And once you do that, you're then gonna put your tracer, your stencil, on your paper. So I'm moving my stuff aside. I'm gonna tilt my back down. So I'm gonna put my number 6 on my paper, okay? And I know it's sometimes hard to trace for students, but you're gonna hold on, and you could use your Sharpie to do this, but you also could use your pencil first. And you're just gonna trace around the number you created. And if it moves like mine just moved, just line it back up. Hold right kind of where you're tracing. So I'm turning my paper so that I can go around my number easily. So your paper can be moved so that you can trace it better. And then I have to do my circle. I'm gonna get a Sharpie, and after you trace it, you might also wanna do the same. Is get a Sharpie now and outline so that you can see it so you know where to cut. And again, I'm moving my paper, so I'm not really moving my Sharpie. I'm rotating my paper around. Now I'm moving my Sharpie, but you can move your paper so that you have control, especially if there's a circle. It's much easier to move your paper. All right, so now I can see my number 6, and now I'm going to cut it out again. So, cut around, and you can either show the black Sharpie line or not. And again, as I'm cutting, I'm holding and I'm turning the paper so that it's easier to cut. And if you notice, I'm using closer to the edge of the scissors versus the tips of the scissors to cut. So the scissors is usually sharper where the mouth is, okay, versus where the end is. All right, so now I still have to figure out how to cut out that center. So again, I'm gonna fold my paper in half. And again, we're not worried about it being perfect. Jasper John's artwork was not perfect. Okay, so got my number cut out, and now I'm going to lay it on to my background, and it's gonna show off really well. So my background is red and my number is 6. The next step that we're going to do is trace our number again onto the background. And you can either use the white paper to trace or your printed paper to trace. I'm going to use my white paper so that you can see it better. And I'm going to start. Again, I'm holding my tracer down close to where my pencil is going. Now we might not get to this step in one sitting, so this might be another day when we are doing this piece. And then I'm going to do my circle. All right, so I've laid down on my background, and it's probably hard to see where my number 6 is. Now what you're going to do is we're now going to add a little bit of soft pastels. So you're going to use the same color as the color of your number, and everybody will have a tray of soft pastels. And you're going to pick the color. So you're going to have one of these on your tables, and you're going to pick the color that comes close to the color that you're using. So I'm going to use purple. You're going to remove your letter, and now you're going to put pastel on the inside where you did your tracing. So I'm just using the side of my pastel. And I know some students don't like the way this sounds, but soft pastels, but kind of bear with me, please. Okay, so I outlined my number. Okay, and now what you're going to do with your finger is you're now going to blend it out. Not all the way, but you're just going to create a shadow effect, and you'll see what I mean once. So I'm just pulling into the background the color that I put down, and I'm using only one finger. So I pulled it all the way around my number. The last step now is to put your number back on top, and we're going to glue it down. And then you have a nice little shadow effect around your number, giving it a little more contrast look, so meaning it'll stand out, and it really makes your number pop. So enjoy. We're then gonna glue your number down. So with liquid glue, you could try glue stick, but if you're using liquid glue, you're just gonna trace your number. Don't use a lot. So I traced my number 6, and now I'm gonna line it up and glue it down. So since we're using glue and gluing one paper onto another, we're also creating a collage, which Jasper John also worked in. So enjoy creating your work of art inspired by Jasper Johns, our artist who used just everyday symbols to work and create a work of art. So to finish your I can statements, you can create a background using found objects. You can create a print with repetition, overlap, to create the patterns of both your number and your background. And today we learned how to create a contrasting shadow effect so that will help our number stand out and pop. So enjoy working on this piece inspired by Jasper Johns. I look forward to seeing which numbers you picked and what colors you chose.